Have you ever witnessed a horse so frail and overlooked that everyone believed he was beyond saving, and then watched him rise to become a true champion? That's exactly what happens in this incredible story. From the dusty auction pen where this helpless stallion nearly got discarded, to the triumphant moment he leaps over towering hurdles with a strength no one imagined he could possess, this tale brims with hope and heart-stopping turns. Want to know the secret behind his transformation and how a single act of faith changed both a horse's destiny and a young woman's life? Stay tuned till the very end to uncover every detail of their courageous journey. Before you dive in, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. By hitting that subscribe button, you'll stay up to date with this story's developments and discover countless other uplifting tales. It's your support that helps us keep sharing stories filled with passion and inspiration. The midday sun blazed over Crowley auction grounds, a sprawling lot framed by sun-scorched wooden fences and rows of weather-beaten stables. Dust spiraled into the hot air as buyers meandered from pen to pen, each sporting a wide-brimmed hat or polished riding boots. They were horse enthusiasts, traders, or ranchers looking to find the next workhorse or champion. Voices mingled with nervous whinnies, creating an undercurrent of clamor that brimmed with possibility. At every pen containing a healthy, spirited horse, heads turned with keen eyes and murmured discussions, assessments of muscle, coat shine, and pedigree. Yet, standing alone in a cramped, unremarkable enclosure behind the main row of stalls, a gaunt, dusty-colored horse stood with a posture so defeated he was barely noticeable. His ribs jutted out from a malnourished torso, his coat clung to bony flanks, and when he occasionally twitched an ear at the commotion, it was more out of reflex than curiosity. Most prospective buyers scoffed at the sight of him if they bothered to glance his way at all. In fact, a few men paused just long enough to spit the same dismissive words: lost cause, not worth the feed, or better off at the glue factory. Their crude laughter echoed around that solitary pen. Only one person in the crowd seemed to sense something deeper. Rowan Flannery, a young woman whose calloused hands and confident stride betrayed her years of ranch work, was there to find a horse she could truly connect with. She had grown up alongside her grandfather, Sam Flannery, who taught her that any horse could excel if given patience, gentleness, and a chance. She was dressed simply in a sun-bleached shirt and scuffed denim jeans, boots that bore evidence of many hours riding over dusty plains. With a modest leather pouch holding her hard-earned savings, she drifted among the prized horses first. Shiny coat geldings with impeccable lineage, stallions that sparkled with vibrant health. Still, none felt right. Her grandfather's words played in her mind like a lullaby. Sometimes what appears broken just needs someone to see its hidden strength. Drawn by an unexplainable pull, Rowan ventured to the far side of the auction yard, away from the buzz of high bids and trained show horses. There she spotted the neglected stallion at the edge of a dimly lit pen, his head hung so low that his muzzle nearly touched the dirt. She approached cautiously, not wanting to spook him, and laid a gentle hand on the rough wooden fence. Behind her, an older man in a sweat-stained hat snickered, nudging a companion as if Rowan's curiosity was a foolish whim. "He's been there all day, kid," the man sneered. "No one's taken that bag of bones." But she ignored him. Instead, she locked eyes with the horse, noticing the dullness in his gaze that spoke not merely of physical exhaustion, but a kind of defeated resignation. Careful not to startle the creature, she leaned closer to let him catch her scent. For a moment, he tensed as if expecting a strike or a shout. When neither came, he eased forward just enough to brush his muzzle against her outstretched hand. The texture of his coarse fur and the fleeting warmth of his breath sent a jolt of empathy through her chest. She felt the raw edge of his desperation, the fear that had long since turned into hopelessness. Her heart clenched, and in that instant, Rowan knew she had to give this horse a second chance, just as her grandfather had given her faith in the unseen potential of living things. The auctioneer, perched on a small wooden platform at the center of the grounds, was concluding a bid for a flashy stallion that sold for a handsome sum. Then he cleared his throat and, somewhat apologetically, shifted attention to the sorry sight in the remote pen. His spiel lacked the practiced enthusiasm from earlier. A few facts about the horse's approximate age, uncertain background, no official papers, and absolutely no guarantee of future performance. The crowd fell silent, and one by one heads turned away. No one wanted the burden. Finally, Rowan's voice rang out. "I'll take him," she called, stepping through the parted crowd. A hush settled over the gathering. A few muffled chuckles broke out again as she strode toward the platform, digging into her small leather pouch for the last of her savings. The auctioneer almost looked relieved. "Sold," he declared, his gavel tapping lightly as though surprised he even had to use it for this sale. Gripping the horse's lead rope, Rowan felt a multitude of judgments swirling around her. Raised eyebrows, skeptical muttering. Some even shook their heads as if she had just thrown her money down a well. But Rowan set her jaw in determination. If she'd learned anything from Sam, it was that when your heart told you to help, you simply did, ignoring the cynics. The horse let out a trembling breath, shifting on frail legs as she led him out of the pen. Freed from the jeering stares, he seemed marginally calmer, though his exhaustion was evident in every reluctant step. Rowan whispered to him softly, "You're with me now, boy. Let's get you home." She had already decided on a name, Thunder, for the distant rumble of resilience she sensed under his quiet exterior. A few onlookers called after her, some with condescension. "Good luck with that skeleton," or "Hope you like vet bills." She refused to react, lifting her chin as she guided the staggering stallion toward the parking lot where her modest trailer awaited. Hours later, Rowan and Thunder found themselves trekking along a dirt road that cut through golden fields, heading toward the Flannery Ranch. The day's warmth still hung in the air, but the sky began shifting to the soft oranges and pinks of dusk. Thunder's steps were wobbly, and a few times Rowan halted to let him rest. Patience, she reminded herself. They had plenty of time. Even though each pause set them back, she wanted to avoid pushing him too far. The last thing he needed was more trauma. When at last the silhouetted outline of a snug wooden house and a few corrals appeared, a rush of relief sparkled in Rowan's eyes. Home. Her grandfather, Sam, leaned against the porch railing, arms folded. He'd been a stalwart figure all her life, tall and lean, with silver hair and a weathered face that softened when he saw Rowan approach. His curious gaze swept over Thunder's skeletal frame, missing patches of fur, and the timid droop in his stance. Rowan's own dusty boots made soft thuds on the hardened earth as she stopped before Sam. Without a word, she waited for the question she knew was coming. Sam let silence linger for a moment before speaking. "Where'd you find this fella?" His tone wasn't accusatory but edged with concern. "At the auction," she said. "He was alone, like no one even knew he was there." She inhaled, still feeling the swirl of defiance and protectiveness. "I couldn't leave him behind." A hint of a smile tugged at Sam's lips. "Well, Rowan, you bought yourself quite a project." His weathered hands reached out to gently brush Thunder's side. The horse flinched but seemed too tired to bolt. Sam frowned at the protruding ribs. "He'll need more than just good feed," he remarked. "It'll take time to get him healthy again." "You sure you're up for this?" Rowan nodded, exhaling her pent-up determination. "I am, Grandpa. I won't give up on him." Sam let out a thoughtful hum, then stepped away so Rowan could guide Thunder into a makeshift pen. The ranch had only so much space for new horses, but he'd find a way. Together they fashioned a temporary shelter with bales of straw and an old tarp. Thunder stood there uncertainly, as if waiting to be told where he was allowed to exist. Rowan brought him a bucket of fresh water, coaxing him to drink. Then she offered a small portion of feed, mindful not to overwhelm his starved system. He sipped the water, then eyed the feed but seemed too drained to eat much. "I'll check on him again at sunrise," Rowan promised, setting a hand on his neck. The horse closed his eyes, and she could see his weariness in the subtle slump of his narrow shoulders. Sam's approving nod was all the reassurance she needed. As dusk deepened into night and the crickets began their quiet chorus, Rowan crawled into bed, her mind brimming with images of Thunder. His cautious eyes, his trembling steps, that flicker of life beneath the dust and bones. She was determined to see that spark turn into a flame. The next few weeks felt like a baptism by fire. Thunder, weak and wary, needed constant monitoring. Rowan rose at daybreak, drawn by a mixture of worry and fascination. In the first couple of days, the horse barely touched his hay, as though convinced the sudden abundance must be a trick. In truth, Rowan suspected he hadn't had a proper meal in ages. Initially, she spent hours squatting near him, speaking in a low, soothing tone while he sniffed at the feed. Her presence gradually coaxed him to take a nibble. Patience was more than just a virtue. It was her strategy. Sam observed from a distance, only stepping in with suggestions if Rowan looked particularly frazzled. Sometimes, he said one morning, a horse this frightened needs to relearn that people aren't at all monsters. You're doing right by just staying calm. Rowan had felt frustration building inside her when Thunder shrank away from her attempts to brush him or tended to spook at sudden noises. She reminded herself, though, that trust wasn't a switch one could flip. Instead, it was built slowly, like layering bricks. Progress arrived in tiny victories. The first time Thunder leaned forward to let Rowan rub his ears, her heart soared. Another day, he finished his entire portion of feed and nickered softly when she refilled his bucket. It was an unspoken declaration. I'm starting to trust you. Sam acknowledged these milestones as well, tipping his hat and giving Rowan an encouraging nod whenever she reported a new sign of progress. Keep it up, he would say, whittling an old piece of wood at the ranch's porch steps. That horse has heart, but it's buried under fear. Day by day, Thunder's coat began to recover its luster. The lumps of bone along his rib cage became less stark, hinting at budding muscle. Still, the memories of abuse or neglect lingered in his trembling posture whenever he encountered something unfamiliar. A dropped bucket, a sudden bark from the ranch dog, or a low-flying bird. Rowan took everything slowly, introducing him to the main corral, letting him see other horses from a safe distance, guiding him around the ranch so he'd learn each corner of the property. She quietly explained each task, as though her words themselves might be healing. Yet trust was only half the battle. Thunder also needed physical rehabilitation. At first, Rowan didn't dare ride him, unsure if his legs could bear weight. She started with gentle walks on a lead rope around the corral, then short, slow trots to strengthen his muscles. After noticing he tired easily, she segmented each day's routine into multiple breaks so he could rest in the shade. The ranch's vet swung by, confirming that while Thunder was malnourished and anxious, there was nothing fundamentally wrong with him that proper care and time couldn't remedy. Hearing that verdict felt like a balm to Rowan's worries. Still, no success came without setbacks. One afternoon, when she tried to lead him beyond the ranch gates for a short walk on the quiet country road, he balked, eyes rolling in panic. She stood firmly but gently, murmuring reassurance until he took a hesitant step forward. That day ended in exhaustion, for both of them, but also triumph because they'd moved just a few strides past the boundary. Inch by inch, Thunder was discovering a world where not every new experience equated to danger. The notion that a horse once so resigned could reclaim his spirit ignited Rowan's resolve. Unlikely as it seemed, she could picture him galloping across an arena, strong and confident, leaving the ghosts of his past in the dust. After 2 months of meticulous feeding, grooming, and daily bonding, Thunder stood as a transformed animal. Still slender, yet no longer skeletal, his coat regaining a mild sheen. One evening, as shadows lengthened across the ranch, Sam joined Rowan by the corral fence. "He's looking better," Sam said in his understated way. "Reckon you'll start training him for real now?" Rowan pulled at a piece of straw between her teeth and assessed Thunder, who was pawing the dirt playfully. "He's almost there," she admitted, "but we need to go slow. I don't want to undo all his progress by rushing." They started with a saddle blanket, letting Thunder get used to it draped over his back before anything else. The stallion stiffened at first contact, muscles quivering with tension. Rowan kept a reassuring tone, gently placing and removing the blanket multiple times a day, each session a few minutes longer than the last. Next came the saddle itself, a worn but serviceable piece Sam had used in his younger days. The first day Rowan tried to settle the saddle on Thunder's back, his eyes went wide and he sidestepped anxiously. She backed off without punishment, letting him sniff it as long as he needed. By the week's end, he permitted the saddle to rest across his spine, though the slightest tightening of the girth made him skittish. In these moments, Rowan recalled stories Sam used to tell, how he'd once restored a fearful horse that had been nearly beaten to death, how a gentle approach had transformed another that bit anyone who ventured near. They weren't just anecdotes. They were lessons in empathy. She channeled those lessons now, praising Thunder every time he allowed one more buckle to be fastened, one more strap to be adjusted. As the days passed, he no longer flinched when she touched his sides. At last, the evening arrived when Rowan hoisted herself onto the saddle, heart pounding with both excitement and caution. Thunder stood stock still, ears perked, uncertain whether to bolt. Rowan leaned forward, pressed a calming hand against his neck, and felt the quiver in his muscles. "Easy, boy," she breathed. "I'm not here to hurt you." For the first few sessions, she simply sat there, letting him adjust to the added weight. Sam watched from the fence line, offering the occasional nod of encouragement. Thunder pawed at the dirt but didn't attempt to throw her. Each day they added a bit of movement, walking in a small circle, then halting. Over time, Rowan asked for slow turns. She reveled in each moment he responded calmly to a subtle shift in pressure on the reins. A flicker of understanding sparked between them, like two dancers learning each other's steps. By the end of that month, Rowan was guiding Thunder around the corral at a gentle trot, the pair moving in cautious synchrony. The tension in Thunder's frame hadn't vanished completely, but it lessened with each ride. Sam hinted they might be approaching the point of facing a real test. One crisp morning, he rested a hand on Rowan's shoulder and said, "There's a local show in a couple of weeks, nothing big, just some folks from around the county. Might be a chance to see how you two handle an audience." Rowan chewed the inside of her cheek. The idea of introducing Thunder to a crowd with unpredictable noise and movements was daunting. But deep inside, she felt a thrill. This wasn't about flaunting him. It was about showing the world, even if it was just a small local crowd, that second chances could bear fruit. The morning of the show arrived with the sky clear and the air tinged with the smell of hay and anticipation. Trucks and trailers clustered around the county fairgrounds, each unloading horses groomed to perfection. Shiny coats, braided manes, and polished tack greeted Rowan at every corner. She led Thunder from her old trailer, feeling the immediate pressure of curious eyes. Some recognized him, the skinny horse from Crowley auction that everyone had once dismissed. Others simply noticed that while he looked healthier now, he was still leaner than the glossy show horses strutting around. Thunder's nostrils flared, and his ears pivoted anxiously in every direction. Rowan laid a calming hand on his side. "We've got this," she whispered. It was the same line she'd repeated during their final rehearsals at home. She steered him toward a small, warm-up arena. Instead of leaping into rigorous drills, she let him circle at a relaxed walk. Meanwhile, Sam and a few friendly neighbors watched from a low wooden fence. One of them, Ryan Drew, a fellow competitor known for his good-humored sportsmanship, offered Rowan a nod and said, "I heard rumors about how far your boy here's come. Been dying to see him in action." Rowan smiled, though a pang of nerves fluttered in her stomach. "He's still a work in progress, but we'll do our best." When their class was announced, a simple walk-trot and low-jump demonstration, Rowan guided Thunder into the ring. The buzz from the modest crowd quieted. She could sense curiosity and maybe a bit of disbelief radiating from the stands. The first set of ground poles approached, and Thunder's ears flicked back. For a heartbeat, she braced for a spook. Instead, he navigated the poles, albeit hesitantly. Next came a small cross rail, barely higher than his knees. Rowan gave a gentle squeeze of her calves, urging him forward. Thunder lifted off with a jolting hop that wasn't exactly elegant, but he cleared it without knocking the rail. Applause scattered through the bleachers. The next few jumps went smoother. Each one seemed to boost Thunder's confidence, and he soared over them with growing ease. By the final pass, a wave of cheers erupted as they landed. Stifling an elated cry, Rowan patted Thunder's neck and guided him toward the exit gate, her grin fueled by relief and joy. She didn't expect to place in any official ranking. This was about proving to herself, and perhaps to him, that they could handle the spotlight. To her surprise, the announcer commended them, awarding a small ribbon for commendable progress and sportsmanship. It wasn't a trophy, but to Rowan it might as well have been gold. After the demonstration, curious spectators approached. Some were novices enthralled by Thunder's backstory. Others were more skeptical, reminding Rowan with offhand remarks that fine breeding and unwavering technique generally dominated the show circuit. One man in particular, tall and sharp-tongued, remarked, A nice little act. But don't get too proud. Serious competitions demand more than a rescued stray. Rowan stiffened but managed a polite smile. He didn't know Thunder's journey, nor the hours poured into healing him. She whispered to Thunder, "They'll see one day." Sam, overhearing the exchange, patted her shoulder. "Proud of you, girl," he murmured. "You stuck to your guns and showed him kindness." Word of the once rejected horse now performing decently at local shows soon circulated among equestrians in the region. Some people found the story heartwarming, an underdog narrative that sparked hope. Others scoffed, muttering about how exceptions didn't negate the importance of pedigree and proper breeding. Rowan, unperturbed, returned to the ranch with renewed motivation. If Thunder could thrive in a modest setting, who was to say he couldn't aim higher? She began a rigorous yet carefully structured training regime. Early mornings were spent working on smooth transitions between gaits, walk to trot to canter, canter to halt. Thunder grew responsive to the lightest pressure on the reins. Afternoon sessions involved small jumps arranged in patterns to enhance agility. Rowan introduced one or two new elements each week, placing brightly colored poles or flower boxes near the jumps, so Thunder would adapt to unexpected sights. When he balked, she guided him calmly, never punishing, always reinforcing trust. Gradually, he started regarding obstacles not as threats, but as challenges he could surmount. In late fall, a trainer named Mel Carter came to the ranch, invited by Sam, who believed Rowan and Thunder might benefit from advanced expertise. Mel was known for a no-nonsense style, but she had a reputation for fairness. As she observed one training session, Rowan felt her nerves spike. Would Mel deem Thunder inadequate? The trainer's sharp gaze followed each stride, her lips pursing in thought. Finally, she nodded. "He's got something special," Mel said. "Not just movement, but heart. Don't rush him, though. Build on his confidence, step by step." It was exactly the sort of feedback Rowan needed to confirm they were on the right path. Weeks melted into months of dedicated drills. Thunder's muscles filled out, and his once dull coat now gleamed in the sunlight. The transformation was so remarkable that even neighbors who had doubted Rowan's judgment started dropping by to see the horse. In the corral, Thunder could clear moderate obstacles with grace. Now and then, Rowan recognized a flicker of that initial fear in his eyes, especially around crowds or sudden loud noises. But it didn't control him anymore. It was as if he'd learned to trust Rowan's leadership above his own panic. By early spring, Mel suggested they enter a mid-level show jumping competition in Maplewood, a small city known for hosting well-regarded equestrian events. Rowan hesitated. Entering a bigger venue meant encountering serious contenders, riders on expertly bred thoroughbreds or warm bloods with pedigrees traced through generations of champions. But she remembered her vow to prove Thunder was more than a battered throwaway. After a nervous phone call, she signed them up. "We'll go there, do our best, and show people what determination can do," she told Sam, rummaging through the tack trunk to find gear that still looked presentable. Sam beamed. "Win or lose, you're keeping your promise to that horse, Rowan. That's champion enough in my book." The Maplewood event was bigger than anything Rowan had ever experienced. The showground sprawled across rolling hills, each ring meticulously groomed. Vendors sold shiny new saddles, embroidered saddle pads, and various bits with staggering price tags. Horse trailers lined the parking fields, some so luxurious they resembled upscale RVs. Walking Thunder among these sleek, well-muscled horses felt surreal. She tried to stay focused. This was a test of their bond, not an invitation to envy wealthier participants. During warm-ups, Thunder skittered nervously, startled by the flurry of activity. A stable hand slammed a gate in the distance, and Thunder tried to spin away. Rowan steadied him. "It's all right, boy," she breathed, patting his neck. She led him through calm circles, then short canter transitions to burn off tension. Gradually, Thunder's nerves settled, though he remained on edge. "Don't be discouraged," Mel reassured her. "First time at a venue this size is bound to shake him. Just show him consistency, and he'll find his footing." Rowan studied the course map. The jumps loomed higher than what they'd faced back home, arranged in intricate lines that demanded precision. Her stomach churned. Could Thunder manage it all without reverting to fear? Their turn approached, and Rowan felt heat climb into her cheeks. A hush descended as the announcer read her name. Rowan Flannery on Thunder, a rescue horse with an inspiring story. She heard scattered applause, tinged with curiosity. Taking a deep breath, she guided Thunder into a steady canter. The first jump, a wide oxer, rose ahead. She squeezed her legs gently, feeling Thunder gather power in his hindquarters. He sailed over it, not flawlessly, but with enough clearance to avoid knocking the rail. Applause erupted. The next few fences were a series of verticals in rapid succession. Thunder hesitated at the bright colors on the poles, but Rowan coaxed him forward. The pair navigated them with only a light tap or two. By the midpoint, Rowan sensed Thunder's confidence growing. He began to focus on the jumps rather than the crowd. Each successful landing built momentum, culminating in a final spread jump that he cleared cleanly. When they finished, only a few rails down, Rowan heard cheers swell across the arena. She couldn't suppress a smile that reached her eyes. She dismounted afterward, throwing her arms around Thunder's neck. "You did it," she whispered, tears threatening to surface. Even if they hadn't posted the fastest time, the transformation was remarkable. Spectators came by to congratulate her, some sharing that Thunder's story had already spread among participants. Others, more subdued, just looked on, uncertain how to reconcile their preconceived notions with the evidence before them. Later, results revealed they placed a respectable 6th out of a field of 20. It wasn't a podium finish, but for Rowan and Thunder, it felt akin to gold. Sam, having watched from a vantage in the stands, gave a round of applause. "I'm proud, Ro," he told her. "You kept your word to that horse, and to yourself." Exhausted yet elated, she and Thunder headed home with a sense of promise. Their best days, she felt, were still ahead. As Thunder's reputation grew, offers began rolling in. Whispers circulated that wealthy owners and renowned stables had taken notice of a miracle horse who had skyrocketed from hopelessness to near-elite performance. Rowan initially shrugged these off. Her bond with Thunder was personal, forged through trust that money could not purchase. But inevitably, the suitors arrived in person. One afternoon, the ranch's long dirt driveway rattled with the approach of a glossy black SUV. Out stepped Marcus Hale, a well-dressed man with manicured nails and a watch that probably cost more than most people's homes. He surveyed the paddocks with barely concealed disdain. Rowan, wearing mud-splattered boots and a faded flannel, approached with the faintest trace of caution. "Can I help you?" she asked, leading Thunder by the halter for a routine cool-down. Marcus smiled, too polished to be genuine. "I'm here on behalf of an international breeding syndicate," he announced, extending a glossy business card. "We've heard about Thunder's performances, how you rescued him from near death. It's quite the story." His gaze slid from Rowan's face to Thunder's gleaming coat. "We'd like to purchase him at a very favorable price." Rowan's jaw tightened. Of course, the word purchase stung. She had no illusions about how the horse industry worked. Buying and selling was part of it, but Thunder was more than a commodity. "Sorry, but he's not for sale," she said, trying to keep her tone civil. Marcus gave a practiced chuckle. "I understand you have an attachment to the animal, but let's be realistic. With the resources we can provide, Thunder could compete internationally. You'd be compensated handsomely. Think of the opportunities, for you and for him." Rowan looked at Thunder, remembering the trembling creature at the auction yard who'd been days away from certain doom. She recalled the night she had soothed him, the morning spent coaxing him to eat. That bond was priceless, built on faith that nobody but she and Sam truly understood. "I appreciate the offer," she replied, voice resolute, "but Thunder isn't going anywhere." Marcus's smile faltered. He lowered his voice, perhaps to avoid seeming confrontational. "Miss Flannery, this is a one-time offer. The sum is more than enough to buy a new property, better horses, top-notch training. You could become a leading competitor in no time." Rowan slid one hand gently along Thunder's neck, feeling his warmth. "Money can't buy what we have," she said, no longer disguising her firmness. "He's my partner. I'm not about to sell him." Marcus studied her for a moment, then gave a shrug that reeked of entitlement. "Suit yourself," he said, slipping back into his SUV. The tires kicked up gravel, leaving Rowan and Thunder in a swirl of dust. Sam, who'd watched quietly from behind the barn, approached. "They won't be the last," he warned. "Anytime someone sees success, they'll try to own it." Rowan sighed, giving Thunder a final stroke along his cheek. "They can try," she muttered, "but they won't understand. He's part of the family now." Unsurprisingly, Marcus's visit was not the end. Over the next year, Rowan and Thunder climbed further up the competitive ladder, tackling more challenging events. Each time they placed, whether it was first, third, or even outside the ribbons, the significance was profound. Thunder's name became synonymous with hope in certain circles, the battered horse who overcame it all. Even so, many purists stuck to their belief that top-tier success required breeding, heritage, and extensive lineage. Rowan never claimed Thunder was the best. She only claimed he deserved a fair shot. Between competitions, they kept to the ranch, refining technique under Sam's watchful eye. Sometimes Ellison Green, a powerful figure in the show-jumping circuit, appeared ringside at events or inquiring from a distance. Rumors swirled that Ellison wanted to make an offer as well, rumors Rowan promptly ignored. She was done explaining that Thunder was forever hers. Late one summer, an invitation arrived for the National Jumping Showcase. This was a prestigious event drawing top contenders nationwide. Rowan felt both exhilaration and trepidation. The courses were notoriously imposing, the audience huge, and media coverage intense. "We don't have to go," Sam reminded her gently. "You've already proven more than enough, to them and to yourself." But Rowan's eyes glittered with quiet resolve. "We're ready for the challenge," she stated, heart pounding at the thought of massive jumps and sophisticated competition. "Thunder's come too far for us to back down." The day before the event, they loaded the trailer in pre-dawn darkness. Thunder shifted anxiously, sensing the tension in the air. A swirl of excitement churned in Rowan's chest. Her mind raced with the obstacles ahead, each requiring split-second timing and near telepathic communication with her horse. The National Jumping Showcase took place at an expansive equestrian center, framed by lush lawns and immaculate flower gardens. Rows of white tents housed vendors selling everything from bridles to embroidered jackets. Big-name riders strolled the stabling area with expert grooms fussing over their purebred equine stars. Once again, Rowan and Thunder stood out, though not for the usual reasons. Ellison Green was there wearing a tailored blazer, a discreet earpiece, and an air of effortless authority. He made eye contact with Rowan as she led Thunder to a small practice ring. She could almost feel his curiosity. Others recognized her too, some approached with genuine support, while others hovered for gossip about the underdog horse. Rowan blocked it all out, focusing on the bond she'd forged with Thunder. She had no illusions they were unstoppable, but she felt assured they had earned their place here. Their class was a timed jumping round, and Rowan insisted on a thorough warm-up. Thunder snorted, tossing his head at the bustling environment. She guided him into a brisk canter, weaving between practice jumps. He responded with surging power, as if summoning every ounce of strength gleaned over the past year of rigorous training. Mel Carter, who'd come to coach, nodded in approval. "He's looking good. Keep your signals calm and clear. He'll match your energy." Rowan smoothed a palm along Thunder's flank. "We've got this," she whispered, voice shaking with adrenaline and hope. The arena gleamed under dazzling sunshine, rails sparkling with fresh paint, sponsors' banners fluttering on the perimeter. Announcers' voices boomed over loudspeakers, detailing each competitor's name, horse, and background. In front of a sizable crowd, Rowan steered Thunder to the start line. Her heart hammered, but the feel of the reins in her palms grounded her. She inhaled deeply, recalling every gentle word she'd ever said to Thunder when he was terrified or uncertain. He pawed the ground, a sign of coiled energy rather than fear. Then the buzzer sounded, and they were off. The first fence loomed, an airy vertical with a bright floral arrangement. Thunder's ears flicked, but Rowan felt him gather momentum. He cleared it neatly. Applause rippled. She guided him toward the next sequence, a set of two towering oxers. His hooves thundered over the turf, sending small clumps flying. Time seemed to slow each moment they soared. Jump by jump, Rowan's confidence amplified, and so did Thunder's. She could hear scattered cheers and occasionally the gasp of spectators when he cleared a particularly challenging combination. Halfway through the course, they approached the dreaded triple combination, known for unseating even seasoned riders. Rowan kept her posture balanced, gave Thunder the cue to lengthen his stride. He launched himself over the first fence, soared across the second with a fleeting clang of hind hoof on rail, a close call, and then landed for a split stride before powering over the third. This time, the bars stayed in place. A roar rose from the stands. She could hardly believe it. Thunder was tackling obstacles that had once seemed impossible. Adrenaline surged, and they galloped toward the final line. A wide water jump preceded a tall vertical. Thunder's breath came in snorts, but he stretched out, clearing the water with inches to spare. The crowd erupted. The last fence approached, a formidable spread that tested stamina. Rowan felt Thunder's muscles bunch up beneath her, and she lifted in sync as he sprang, pulling them both over the towering rails. They landed on the other side, nearly stumbling but staying upright. Rowan steadied him, and they crossed the timers. She heard the buzzer mark their completion, then realized she was shaking. Part exhilaration, part disbelief. The scoreboard flashed their time, second place so far, with only a handful of riders left. As they exited the arena, sweat lathered Thunder's neck and Rowan's breath came in gasps. She slid off to walk him out, her legs trembling. Even if the final placements bumped them down, they'd proven they were worthy of standing among the best. Sam caught up to her, tears glimmering in his old eyes. "You soared out there," he said, voice choked with emotion. She hugged him tightly, overwhelmed by gratitude. This was the culmination of every slow, patient hour spent teaching Thunder that life could be more than fear. When results finalized, they were edged out by one horse, placing them solidly in second. For Rowan, it was a triumph beyond measure. During the award ceremony, cameras flashed, capturing the image of Thunder's proud stance next to horses with pedigrees traced to champion bloodlines. Standing on the podium, Rowan stroked Thunder's mane. In that moment, she remembered how he had once stood at an auction pen, overlooked and branded worthless. How wrong everyone had been. The aftermath of their near victory catapulted Rowan and Thunder into a realm of fame they hadn't anticipated. Headlines in equestrian magazines featured the horse nobody wanted, detailing how Rowan had turned a neglected stallion into a medal-winning jumper. Riding clinics sought them out to speak about perseverance. Sponsors approached with product offers, wanting to associate with the inspiring duo. Every now and then, Rowan found herself overwhelmed by how swiftly circumstances had changed. Yet whenever she felt disoriented, a quiet ride around the ranch grounds with Thunder helped her refocus on what truly mattered: their bond. Around the same time, a notable publisher got in touch, proposing a book about Thunder's journey. Rowan hesitated. She was no writer. But Sam encouraged her, citing how their experiences might lift the spirits of countless other people struggling with their own insecurities or rejections. "All you need to do is tell the truth," Sam advised. "People will feel the hope in it." Eventually, Rowan agreed, and she spent late nights jotting every detail she could recall, from the dusty auction pen to that final triumphant jump at Nationals. She titled the manuscript, Thunder's Heart, From Rejected to Remarkable. Months later, the book became a minor sensation, especially among youth who found renewed belief in second chances. Horse lovers visited the ranch, often asking to see Thunder. Rowan permitted small tours by appointment, showing them the once frightened stallion whose quiet confidence now radiated from every sinew. Children giggled with excitement, brushing him under her watchful eye. Thunder, for his part, often lowered his head to greet them, exhaling gentle breaths of acceptance. Rowan sometimes recalled the days he cowered in the corner of his pen, and her throat would tighten with emotion. He had become a symbol of what kindness and dedication could achieve against all odds. Life carried on. Rowan and Thunder continued to compete here and there, savoring each ride rather than chasing endless accolades. As the seasons passed, they achieved further successes in some competitions and humbling experiences in others. But none of it changed the respect and affection they shared. Offers to buy Thunder never truly disappeared. A few wealthy owners occasionally made queries, some with staggering sums. But Rowan's reply remained unwavering. On a mild spring afternoon after a leisurely training session, Rowan guided Thunder back to his stall. Sam ambled up, supporting himself on a walking stick these days, his face etched with age but bright with pride. "Do you realize," he said, voice thick with sentiment, "that what you did for him, he also did for you? Gave you purpose, gave you a reason to fight for something bigger than yourself." Rowan smiled, tears stinging her eyes. "I know," she whispered, looking at the stallion who was munching hay, blissfully content. we saved each other. In the end, Thunder wasn't just a champion because of ribbons or medals, though he garnered many. He was a champion in spirit, a testament that brokenness can be mended when met with love and patience. His name became an emblem of resilience, carving its place in local lore as the horse who transcended his harsh beginnings. And whenever Rowan recounted his tale, whether to a newcomer at the ranch or to an auditorium of horse enthusiasts, she always concluded with the same reminder. All it took was a little faith to see the greatness that was always inside him. Never doubt what kindness can awaken in a fragile heart. From a personal perspective, this story leaves me with a renewed faith in the power of persistence and empathy. It reminds us that our worth isn't defined by appearances or circumstances, but by the determination to keep striving toward our goals and the kindness we receive along the way. Every setback faced by our underdog horse and his devoted owner only forged a stronger bond between them, one that couldn't be measured by money or trophies alone. I hope their journey resonated with you as deeply as it did with me. If you found inspiration here, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Which part of their story touched your heart the most? Feel free to share your opinions, experiences, or questions in the comments below so we can continue the conversation. And remember, subscribing to the channel is the best way to show your support and join us for many more inspiring stories to come.